that we made, etc.
Yeah, I know. It goes
You
back
know?
far. Electricity, all of that.
But we
all
got
that electricity, open heart surgery. You know what I mean? We can talk about some things.
Man, we've done some very important shit in the American
we have
history.
made our mark in American history.
And we got to include NASA. We have to include
And we're talking about black women did that. You hear me?
Do your research.
Black women did that.
Okay? Because we have to understand that we are America. Each and every one of us was, we were the one that built America.
And
America belonged to us just as much as it belongs to you. And we got to keep in mind, England came and stole the land from the Indians. My great grandmother is a Native American. She never was in Africa. Her people was never in Africa. So, when we have these people saying, go back to where you come from, well, we have to talk to everybody when we saying go back. So, if everybody just go back to where they came from, then maybe we can consider erasing and starting over. You see what I'm saying? But you can't tell me that you're tired of hearing it, or that was over so many years ago. We have to consider the fact that this was instilled into our family for generations after generations. Century after century.
Talk about it.
For years. We talking about the same amount of time that Jesus walked the earth before he started having kids. I mean, not Jesus, I'm sorry, but Adam and Eve. You see what I'm saying? They didn't start having kids until they were like 400 and 500 some years old. But I'm talking biblical time. So we were enslaved for biblical time. You know what I'm saying? Hundreds of years. So when we say how we look at it and how we feel about it is different from how a white person should feel about it, of course.
Of course.
It's going to be different. And yeah, shit is going to hit us a different way. Because you have to look at all the hurt and pain and for our children, our black children, everything. You know? And even understanding as a black woman to be called a mammy. A black woman. And you see how hard it is for a black man. Okay.
It even goes into so far into how you raise your children and everything you say and just how you conduct yourself with your children.
Right.
On how people will say if you're a mammy or like, wait, what do you mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it goes that far. Like, how dare you?
Like I said, I would have been fighting because I mean you wouldn't have disrespected my grandmother like that. And just the the disaster she created when she said that amongst her co-hosts, amongst the other news anchors that were of African descent.
One was appalled. You can tell.
For return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
One was appalled because when I was looking at the scenery, you can see the brother looking at her like he went with it. Of course, this is his job. You know what I mean? He's
right,
like, okay,
but
like,
when it
wow.
really dawned on him what she said,
he looked at her, his mouth was dropped. Dead open, like, wow. But the other co-host was going right along. He thought it was hilarious. It was so funny to him.
It was so funny.
For return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
I know your mother or your grandmammy. Now,
I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
now, this woman said that like she knew exactly what she was saying. And she knew what it meant. Because you don't hear people saying mammy
I
too
know
much.
your mother or
That's
your
not no
grandmammy has got.
common. That's not a common statement these days and ages. At
It's
all.
not. It's not.
At all. At all.
You know, that was definitely
A
She was
racial
definitely-
station.
she was definitely
A racial
taking
statement.
hits.
Period.
She was definitely taking hits.
Shots
You
all
know,
day.
the whole conversation that she had with this lady who was having a professional conversation with her on something professional.
Worldwide, people can see, everyone across the world, who can tune in.
But not Barbara. Barbara saw a black news anchor. That's what she saw. And as soon as she saw her, everything she said was taking shots. Listen to the clip. From beginning to the end, I want you to listen to what she said.
Carmen, girl, sis, I know you well enough to know that those guys working behind you, they probably know who the celebrity game day picker is. So, you need to go swing by the Kroger's, get you a chocolate pie.
A chocolate.
Well, pecan pie would be just as fine. And you need to go
Very
also
unprofessional.
to some of those guys working
Pecan pie
behind
is just
you.
as fine.
Get the scoop.
Very
See if you can get the
unprofessional.
scoop from one of those for return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
Now,
Get the scoop.
explain
from one
to
of
me
those.
when you've heard another news anchor refer to another news anchor as girl.
Turn. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
She said, sis. I
She
know
said,
you well enough.
girl, sis. Now, very unprofessional. This was not the demeanor of the other anchor.
Guys working behind you, they probably know who the celebrity is. I know you well enough to know
I know
that
you well enough
those
to know
guys working behind
that
you.
those guys work
Carmen,
behind you.
Girl, sis, I know you well enough to know that those guys working.
Now, what does that have to do with?
Anything they were speaking of.
Carmen, girl, sis, I
Now,
Girl, sis. I know.
that alone tells you
Girl,
that
sis, I know.
she automatically didn't have any respect for Carmen.
Period.
She didn't have any respect for the other news anchor. And not only did she say, go to Kroger's, okay? Insinuating that she shops at Kroger's. And we all know that Kroger's is a cheaper brand of...
But I'm going to also say this. Her being
For
on
return.
live, national television, and was so comfortable with
Right.
what she had to say. So, again, because she was so comfortable saying it on national television,
Yes.
that tells
I know
me
your
a lot
mother
about
or your grandmammy
the
has
news
got.
station. You get what I mean? I'm gonna just call the elephant in the room. I'm gonna call the elephant in the room.
It
It's
was
talked
so...
about so much in the actual news station. You get what I'm saying?
For return.
That it was okay.
I know
She
your,
thought it
your
was
mother
okay.
or your
Anywho.
grandmammy has got.
Now,
But because she put him on blast, low key.
I want you to understand, though. I want you to understand. Listen. This lady had no regard for the uncomfortability that she was, how uncomfortable
Causing.
she was making
for
the other
any
news anchor that
other
she was
news
speaking
anchors.
to. Now, Carmen didn't even know how to respond to Barbara.
You know what? I'm a shout out to you, Miss Carmen, because at the end of the day, I believe she does, but in her mind, she was just a whole lot larger.
That's what
than
I'm saying.
What this woman was bringing to her.
She couldn't even respond to her because it was so offhand. You know, and the look that she gave was like,
even the brother on the side of her was like,
yeah.
like, no, this. He didn't say it, but I can see it all. No, this bitch didn't with his mind. His mouth was wide open.
But to be on live broadcast, speaking of news.
But my thing is still able to apologize, so-called, and make the statement or comment that she made thereafter, and you fire her.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, and it's just like I said, people in Mississippi are so used to accepting that treatment. They're so used to, okay, all we looked at is another nigger.
They think that would have made us colored folk feel better.
Well, I'm just trying to understand how
That's
she
what- that's how I
figured
feel.
she would have been just as good as calling her grandmother a nigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because she just used another word for it.
Exactly.
Now,
It's
the
a
mammy,
different terminology, but anybody who's right there with her understands and knows what she downright
meant
outcalled
Yeah.
that young woman's
And-
grandmother.
it was so insulting, but at the same time, it was so funny to the other news anchor, as if he wasn't even professional
Nobody-
enough to even see
I don't think
how
he
ignorant
didn't
it was
see.
for her
I don't think
to
he didn't
even
see.
her
He
demeanor.
just thought it was hilarious. I don't even think he didn't see. He knew exactly what was going on, what was being said, how it was being delivered. He knew.
and
That's
knew,
why he found it so hilarious.
So you have to question how much respect they have for their black employees there at that news center.
That actually works there.
Exactly.
At that news broadcasting system. Yes. Exactly.
And if we have people, you know, in the news, and we have the police and the counties, and everybody's witty.
I feel like they only dismissed her after the fact with the whole fishermanism. We got to make sure they think that we care. Or
you gotta
there's
also-
no tolerance with us with that.
Well, you got to also
We all know
understand
that's
she
a
was in the
bullshit.
middle of a promotional phrase that she was trying to do for Snoop Dogg, which is another black man. You see what I'm saying? But when she downright insulted her co-workers and made them feel uncomfortable, it was okay for her to come back on air and send out this heartfelt apology and be still accepted to be back on the show to be, to continue to be disrespectful. Now, and I'm only saying that
But to me, to
because
still say something that wasn't as quote unquote they feel was so disrespectful than the comment she made beforehand doesn't make sense to me. You get what I mean?
Right.
I feel like they knew she fucked up then, and at that point now, because Snoop Dogg was involved, okay, now we're gonna make sure like we don't want that tarnished on us. But you already were tarnished,
right,
due to the comment that was made previously.
right.
Mammy is not a comment that you make.
Well, you got to understand how uncomfortable it made her other co-host.
For return. I know your mother or your grandmammy has got.
Your mother or your
Carmen,
grandmother, and she said it
girl,
so
sis,
freely, like
I know
it
you
was
well enough
okay.
to know that those guys
Now she
working behind
completely
you.
made a fool of herself because she's like, girl, sis, now, you and I both know that is